looking at something. And the minute you master it, you can really start using it as a powerful tool. Design can be very much on the opposite of propaganda. Like propaganda is very manipulative, and it can constantly destroy the image, for example, of the Middle East. It's done it very well. And sadly, you know, we have this very distorted image of our region. And for me, when I went to England, I constantly used design or my culture to export it to my friends and colleagues and change its perception by showing them something that they did not know or they did not expect. You know, they have this distorted image that it's a war-torn country in Lebanon, and Beirut has far more than that. So what I was exporting were wonderful visual images, such as it started off, I'm talking in 1990, the Egyptian posters, the graphics that we had. I was constantly trying to rescue things that we had long forgotten. Packaging that was kind of thrown away. I would just constantly take it abroad and say, look, that's how we're different. Because the West is also very powerful at preserving what they're good at, such as the classic icons of their cinema posters, or take like for example, their packaging, the Ribena drink, you know, what's our equivalent? And that's what we have to kind of play on constantly. So it's a very powerful tool. I think, especially I say that to students, they should never underestimate their role as a designer, because they have a responsibility on how to present themselves and their culture, you know, publicly.
You look for certain narratives in your material that you're sourcing from, or?
I think the narrative is already there. It comes to me in like, I'm always saying that the stories are there. It's a matter of just collecting them and presenting it in a very simplistic form and saying, you know, this is it. Like what I had done with my well-known book, The Secret Life of Cyril Marjorie, which has become a cult book. People always ask me, how did you do it? How did you do this amazing thing? I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just took a story that was out there in the public that nobody was listening to, as in seeing, and I just put it in a book, in a form that everybody can have access to, and suddenly like, wow, everybody was mesmerized. I'm like, you know, it's there, just look. And I think that's my role, it's just bringing people to see, you know? So that's where I feel I've made a difference.
When you're making work, do you feel a piece or a design or anything is finished? What tells you?
When something is done? Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Shall I say instinct? Instinctively you can tell when it's done. But also what design as a business has taught me, that time is money. So at some point you've got to just make a decision and you stop, because you know, and it's a good thing. You can't just keep on, I mean the best pieces, you know, are always done quickly and instinctively. It's not the ones that drag for hours and years. So when something is complete, I think when it's, when you're satisfied, I guess emotionally, it's just there. You can just decide it's done. It's a tough question, but I think it's a form of instinctive aesthetics. You know it's finished. The authenticity comes from a personal touch, a personal perception of something. It is not mimicking the outside. It's looking really at what you really love and not emulating. Being honest, looking at around you and accepting things as they are. Like for example, Beirut, as I take it always as a reference, it's the most imperfect place. And you know what? I love it. It's not about trying to pretend to be, you know, all smart and you know, and being afraid to say that we're actually imperfect. So that's being authentic, you know, instead of trying to pretend to be like, you know, Switzerland where everything beautiful. But you know, that's what makes us different, is our imperfection, our madness, our imbalance, our schizophrenia.
And how do you see the direction of design in the region?
In the region, there's a lot of potential that's happening, and a lot of changes, like what I had written in the Brown Book Design Directory as my forward. You know, design that really exists 20 years ago when I left the Middle East. I was 16. There was no such thing as design education, no design history, and a lot of the people that you know left in that period and now have come back have now started to establish the meaning of design in society and education and all of that. And it's there's a lot of interesting things happening. A lot of people are going back into their own country and trying to understand it and bring it back into design. It's a different form of design than, say, that goes on in the West. I think a lot of it is solving problems out of real social awareness here. But sometimes, like also in the West, a lot of design is just doing it for the sake of it. So there is, which is a design problem all over the world. You know, we just do design, but design should be really solving problems on the ground for the way people live or behave. And it's, again, a lot of design is to have to understand that it's not just design for the collectible, it's not for the elitists. Design should be really at some point for everybody. You start maybe at the top, but then you can start doing design for the mass. You know, that's the role of a designer, is improving things on a daily basis.
Solving problems.
Yeah, but not just for the rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The main difference, I guess, then between, I guess you could say painting or fine arts and design.
Yeah, for sure. But then, you know, the design in the West, a lot of it is also done for the masses. Like take, for example, IKEA.
Yeah.
IKEA was the best thing that ever happened in the 21st century, where design became accessible to the mass.
It's opening here in Sweden.
Yeah, but then it's selling Western culture to the Middle East, and I'm saying the Middle East should start looking at mass production in the Middle Eastern language, or collaborating with IKEA to produce products for the Middle Eastern market, not an invasion of a Western product onto an Arab. You know what I mean? So it's either collaborating, and you know how in IKEA we have always, when you come in, they've commissioned a designer that's Swedish, and she's done a collection of chairs. So they should harness talent from here to collaboration. And so I'm not saying it's not to engage with Western products, but to have the two. Yeah, a dialogue, exactly.